Hello.
Hello,
Yeah, Kevin Mobula, how are you?
I'm fine. And how about you, Doc?
Fine, very good. Okay, thank you. So, morning and good afternoon. I think let me start the session. Yeah.
Yes, we can start.
Okay. So, thank you. Yesterday, I have discussed about rural health and so on. Uh, and I have left the topic of the development. I was discussing about the development and who define the development and for what whom development and it's the benefit who will take the benefit of the development. So a lot of things I have stated about this. Yes, and yesterday, 1 minute, please. Well, 19 indicators of health. Yeah, the was yeah, unit 2 health and development. So I have described about the development some issues. Today I will discuss about health and development, the linkage, and the health and development, the international and national context. So ensuring the health and well-being of all essential to poverty eradication efforts and achieving sustainable development, contributing to economic growth and prosperous communities. Health is also an inalienable human right according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as good health allows people to reach their full potential, children to be better able to learn, workers to be more productive, and parents to care for their children better. It is also a key indicator of a country's progress. A nation with a healthy population is more likely to experience sustained growth. Good health is also essential for the stability of entire regions as pandemics which transcend the borders can have severe social and economic impacts on families and communities and can be increased pressure on health system. Although global health has improved significantly in recent decades, this benefit has not been shared evenly within and among nations. Several hundred million people across the globe continue to go without basic health services, especially in rural areas and in the most impoverished communities. The trends in increasing in health sector investment in developing countries by demonstrating a strong link between health and economic development. A 2001 report 2001 report by the WHO Commission on Microeconomics and Health set specific goals for health investment as a means to promote economic development. Viewing good health as a means to further economic development is a useful strategy for evaluating the status of health related investment. However, this view also has limitations particularly in acknowledging the interesting value of health and understanding development more broadly. An alternative view of health and economic development see health as both interestingly and instrumentally valuable, but takes health as an end in itself. The viewpoint is the opportunity for health and healthcare as constituent components of development. You can see the slide. The interrelation between health and development is now well recognized. The basic goal of all development process is the improvement in the quality of life of the people. Health is one of the indicators that best describe the quality of life. Health not only is the end product of development efforts, healthy population also plays a key role in achieving the development goal. The relationship between health and development, however, needs to be placed in a network of interactions between multitude of basic services such as housing, nutrition, education, water, supply, etc. Apart from health services itself, secondly, positive health should not be seen as a product of economic development alone, since many of the macro indicators of development don't reveal the quality of life of the vast section of the population. Okay. An alternative view of health and economic development sees health as both instinctively and instrumentally valuable, but takes health as in itself. The viewpoint sees the opportunity for health and healthcare as constituent components of development, evaluating the need to justify their importance in terms of their indirect contribution to the growth of gross national product or personal income. It also it also recognizes the interrelatedness among health and other valuable social ends, that is education, and at the same time emphasizes health's importance for individual agency, that is people's ability to live a life life they value. Good health enables individuals to be active agents of change in the development process, both within and outside the health sector. Increased investment in health requires public action and mobilization of resources, but it also brings individuals opportunities for social and political participation in health system reform and implementation. Agencies is critical for development overall and for the development and sustainability of effective health system, and individuals should have the opportunity to participate in political and social choice about public policies that affect them. These key elements are part of alternative way of thinking about health and development, and several points are relevant to this view. First, this alternative viewpoint appeals to a particular vision of good life that is derived from Aristotle, Aristotelian political philosophy and Amartya Sen's Nobel Prize capability approach. According to Aristotle, society's obligation to maintain and improve health is grounded in the ethical principle of human flourishing, which holds that society is obligated to enable human beings to live flourishing and thus healthy lives. Certain aspects of health in particular sustain all other aspects of human flourishing because without being alive, other human functioning, including agency, are possible. Therefore, public policy should focus on individuals' capacity to function, and health policy should aim to maintain and improve this capacity by meeting health needs. This view sees development to as expansion of individual freedom instead of judging development by gross national product or personal income. Second, the link between health. Okay, yeah, I have stated this. Second, the link between health and economic development is two directional because health depends on economic development in the same way that economic development depends on health. For example, health and demography can affect income through their impact on labor productivity, saving rates, investment in physical and human capital, and age structure. In this other direction, income can affect health and demography by, for example, improving the ability to obtain food, sanitation, housing, and education, and providing incentives to limit family size. However, inequalities in income and social position can also harm the health of the underdog as Renault's work demonstrates. It is therefore important to integrate strategy for improving health and economic opportunities rather than assuming a one-directional relation going from health to increased affluence. Third, health improvement and economic development are both linked to individuals' opportunities to exercise their agency and participate in political and social decision making process. Political and civil rights, especially the right to open discussion and dissent, are central to informed choice. Agency is important for public policy because it supports individuals' participation in economic, social, and political action and enable individuals to make decisions as active agents of change. This view contrasts with the perspective that individuals are passive recipients of the health care sorry, and decision about health expenditure or other development programs. An agency-centered view promotes individuals' ability to understand and shape their own destiny and help each other. Development of institutions development of institutions that aim to improve health and create economic opportunities should therefore be influenced by the exercise of people's freedoms through the liberty to participate in social choice and in the making of public decisions that impel the progress of these opportunities. It is important that any discussion of health and economic development take note of the significance of participation for effective and sustainable reforms. Active agency is critically important for both health and economic development, as indeed they are important for each other. The relationship between health and economic development can be measured by assessing the impact of health related issues like rate of mortality, infant mortality, fertility, disease, and overall health in relation to their impact on human productivity. Human capital is one of the chief cornerstones of economic development, and an economy that is deficient in these vital components will suffer from the effects. A correlation between health and economic development can be seen in underdeveloped countries with inadequate healthcare systems. In such countries, a lack of basic health amenities like good hospitals and competent health care affects the ability of the citizens to produce at an optimal level. When remote areas lack good medicine for even simple disease like malaria, it affects the level of output because those affiliated with the disease must miss work while they try to deal with its devastating effects. Indeed, the link between health and economic development in such areas is due to the poor economy and resultant poverty in which the citizens don't have the funds to gain access to components, healthcare, leading to possible needless deaths from completely curable disease. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Infant mortality is linked to health and economic development because a population with a high rate of infant mortality will not be able to sustain itself. The infants will someday grow up to become the chief labor force. When there is a higher than average rate of mortality among infants, the population will soon be skewed in a disproportionate ratio of older people versus younger ones, making it difficult for the younger people to sustain the larger number of older members in the society. This link between health and economic development can also be drawn from a lack of fertility among the women due to poor health policies. Such a factor can also cause a negative balance in the ratio of young versus old. In general, good health among the members of a society is another factor another factor concerning the effects of health and economic development. Healthy people are more productive and able to work than those who are sick, are not capable. There is a loss of productivity due to sick workers taking days off to deal with their ill health. The combined loss of productive work hours affects the economy in the sense that it leads to a loss of revenue affecting the economic development of that areas. So it is the overview of the health and development which I have narrated, and the next topic is health and development in international context, and second the national context means interstate comparison. International context, if we will talk about international context here, comparisons between developed and developing countries needs to be undertaken in order to understand the complexity of health development interlinkage. However, even within developing countries, there are exceptions such as China or Sri Lanka. These countries, despite their underdevelopment, have also achieved higher levels of health. Income alone is inadequate indicator of development. For comparison, however, it has been often used because it is more easily measured than other aspects of development. There exist clear links between health and income, both when considering individuals and average for countries. A comparison of health indicators with economic indicators with respect to different selected countries so that the inhabitants enjoy the highest life expectancy tends to be those with the highest income person. For example, in India, the GNP per capita is $310. Death rate per 1 lakhs is 1145, and life expectancy of birth is 61 year. IMR is 86 years. Under 5 mortality rate is 124, and maternal mortality rate per 1000 live birth is 250 to 499. Health expenditure per capita income US dollar 21. If we talk about Nigeria, it is African country. Here GNP of the per capita is 320. It's uh, above than India. And here the death rate per 1 lakh is one 1559, and life expectancy of birth is 53 years. IMR is 95. Under 5 years mortality rate is 191, and the maternal mortality per 1 lakh is uh, how much? 250 to 499. And if we talk about the developed country like UK, here is the GNP per capita is 7,790 US dollar. Death rate is 516, and here the maternal mortality rate is per 1 lakh is less than 25. And in this topic, basically, most of the database is a comparison between countries. Uh, if we summarize this, the country who are developed has better healthcare system, has the best life expectancy, less mortality rate, less infant mortality rate, less birth date, death rate, and the country who are below the poverty line, are considered third world country like India and the Saharan country and other Asian countries. Their high mortality rate, high death rate, high infant mortality rate, high maternal mortality rate. So because these low income countries spend less on the healthcare system and the developed country spends much more in comparison of third world country. The if we talk about China, although the income per capita in China is only $470 as compared to $310 in India, the child mortality rate is only 43, while the life expectancy at birth is 71 as against 124 and 61 respectively in India. This showed that redistribution of resources, satisfaction of basic needs, and health services based on simple technologies play a much greater role in health. If we take example of the Sri Lanka is another positive model where overall development has led to better health status of the population, self-sufficiency in rice and several other items of food has been a development objective of the highest priority in the country. The main beneficiaries of the development program has been rice growing peasantry. This program helped to reduce regional disparities and inequalities among the classes. The efforts to increase productivity and transform the peasant economy was part of larger national program in which satisfaction of basic needs received highest priority. A most important element was the program for universal free education, an effective food rationing system, and an emphasis on rural housing. The public transport system and a network of roads improved the accessibility of even remotest village. The rate of economic growth in Sri Lanka has been between 4 to 4.5% per year over the 3 decades in 1950 to 1980. Although the rate of income growth has been higher than for most other low income countries, it has not been adequate enough to provide sufficient employment for the growing workforce. Unemployment reached 24% in 175, one of the highest orient rates among the developing countries. The Sri Lanka model showed that e- equity-oriented strategy as well as the pattern and place of economic growth have implication for the quality of life and health of the income. Now we will talk about national context in India, that interstate comparison. The health status of the population in India as a whole presents a dismal picture. We know the low per capita income, high child mortality, uh, high child mortality and low life expectancy at birth. Apart from this, we also know that the disease burden in India is substantial, and in this, female are more than the male population. These are typical features of underdevelopment. Within this macro situation, there are a few exceptions similar to what we have seen in the international context. In India, some states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka has the better healthcare facility and healthcare delivery system. So here is IMR is in if we talk about Kerala, here is IMR is 13, under 5 years mortality rate is 32, maternal mortality death per 1 lakh birth is 87, and per capita medical and public health expenditure is 48.51. Where Odisha, Odisha here IMR infant mortality rate is 110. In comparison of Kerala is 13, and under 5 years mortality rate is 131. Maternal mortality, maternal death per 1 lakh is 738. As you may see in this scenario, Kerala has drawn the attention of academicians and policymakers, including a number of international agencies also. Because from a narrow interpretation of development based exclusively on per capita income, it is a paradox. However, contrary to popular belief, Kerala is found to be more advanced than all other states in overall socio-economic development. The current explanation attributes Kerala's achievement in health to discrete variables such as women's status, literacy, health services utilization, etc. From the various data available, it can be argued that the overall development in other sectors like communication, transportation, reliable source of power supply, literacy, sanitation, water, etc. It is a precondition for effective organization and utilization of health services. It is not possible to apportion the credit for health status improvement between various aspects of development which are highly interdependent and intercorrelated. Through we may find corresponding relationship between per capita income and health indicators. In the case of most of the states, yet Gujarat and Haryana presented a different picture. For instance, despite having high per capita income, the IMR and the under 5 mortality is quite high in the two states. On the contrary, Tamil Nadu with low per capita income performs better than the two states of these two indicators. So let's sum up. Per capita income is a clear and most accepted indicators of development. The international and national context revealed that there is a positive relationship between per capita income and health indicators. However, there are exceptional exceptions to this, as some countries with low per capita income have achieved higher level of health status than those countries with higher per capita income. This is evident both in the international and national context. These trends also indicate that economic growth may be a necessary condition, but it is not a sufficient condition to achieve health status for the people. The data also revealed that improvements in health status is determined by the amount allocated for the health sector. So I think I have cleared all the units, all the points of this unit, and we will talk about the third unit, development of healthcare services in rural India, a review. This unit has four content: introduction, healthcare services in pre-independence era, healthcare services in independent India, retrospective, and role of primary health center in rural health services. Okay. India has a rich health heritage. An analytical review of the past history assumes importance because it enables us to understand how, at various stages, different healthcare systems have been evolved to deal with health problems. India's ancient healthcare system was quite vibrant and it reflects the cultural practices of the rural communities. There was a close link between the people and their environment. The merits of the ancient systems of medicine can be assessed from the fact that even now they are considered the best to deal with some of the health problems. However, during the colonial period, with the advent of modern medicine, serious attempts were made to degrade the scientific rigor of Indian medicine. As a result, modern medicine began to emerge as the dominant one to deal with India's health problems. The rise of modern medicine created a rift in the provision of healthcare services because those who enjoyed the benefit of modern medicine were the army personnel and the city based civilians who served the colonial regime. However, this scenario began to change in the wake of India's freedom from colonization. Healthcare for the rural masses occupied a key position in the independent India's health policies and programs. Against this backdrop, we shall first discuss the pattern of healthcare services during pre-colonial and colonial period. Secondly, we shall discuss the various measures undertaken to deal with rural health problems after independence. And finally, we will talk about the primary health center PHC in India. Healthcare services in pre-independence era. Needless to say that the history of healthcare services is as old as human history. Since the dawn of human civilization, healthcare has been an important human need. This is because historically humanity has been involved by killer epidemics and chronic and endemic diseases. The people of ancient era were the victims of nutritional disorder, occupational risk, pain of childbearing, inadequate childcare, female infanticide, and abortion by artificial interference. So the writings of the history of ancient healthcare system is replete with such findings. They also reveal the glorious past of India's health heritage. We shall discuss this issue into two parts, that is pre-colonial era and colonial era. Okay. As you know, it is very difficult to mention the date of year indicating briefing of this era. However, you may get some clue of this dilemma as you proceed further knowledge. Scholars who have studied the history of India's health heritage differ in their views on the earliest date to describe the beginning of this era. Some say that it dates back to 5th century BC. However, others drawing references to the migration of the Aryans to the Indus Valley contended that is the dates back to 2nd millennium BC. These factors not withstanding, let us the scholars say regarding the ancient health practices. Marshall and Matrix Ebnis given an account to the manifestly high standard of environmental sanitation and high degree of health and consciousness among the people of Indus Valley civilization. Similarly, Chattopadhyay also accounts for the effectiveness of Vedic medicine. The striking features of the healthcare in the Indus Valley civilization, according to the Banerjee, assumption that there is a close interaction between body, matter, and environment. This form of holistic thinking in the field of health at the theoretical level is also focused on ancient texts such as Charak, Sushruta, and Sanghita. The other sources which are used to describe the scientific vigor of ancient healthcare are Milind, Panoh, Buddhist medical text, the second Rakhidics and Emperor Ashok's Maurya and writings of Al-Baruni. According to Shankar, the social streams which describe the traditional health system in India are Lok Swasth, Parampara, and Shastriya stream. The former refers to the practice of indigenous health of the level of popular science, which relies on the immediately available local resources like flora, fauna, and minerals. Housewives, with their knowledge of food and home remedies, traditional birth attendants, bone setters, practitioners of acupressure, and traditional village level herbal medicine workers res- represented such a tradition. On the contrary, the second stream refers to the scientific or Shastri aspect of the Indian traditional health services. The, this consists of the codified and organized knowledge with sophisticated theoretical foundations expressed in several regional manuscripts covering all branches of the medicine and surgery. It may be necessary at this juncture to present a brief description Sorry for disruption due to some technical fault. I was disconnected. So sorry. So we are talking about the ancient health services prevalent in India. It is Ayurveda, कार्य चिकित्सा, बाल चिकित्सा, गृह चिकित्सा, शल्य चिकित्सा, धर्मशास्त्र चिकित्सा, जरा चिकित्सा means geriatrics and Varsusa चिकित्सा and Siddha Unani system also available that time. And the second is colonial period. One. Hmm. Colonial period, the healthcare services during the colonial period underwent many changes. The major changes among there were the introduction of allopathy, the modern medicine, class-based provisions of healthcare services, and the appointment of commissions to study the health problems for recommending ways and means to combat disease. Allopathy medicine was brought to India by the British as early as in the 16th century. The modern medicine began to flourish during the colonial rule for the following reasons. Firstly, a new elite class which arose from the educational system introduced by the British increasingly took up to the profession of modern medicine. Secondly, the modern medicine was made to serve essentially the colonial military and the civilized civilian establishment. This was done to promote the military from the outbreaks of epidemics and other communicable disease. It was considered crucial for promoting the trade interests of the colonial regime. Thirdly, the attempts were also made to project the Indian system of medicine as rudimentary, unscientific, and ineffective to deal with the major health problems of the country. There was class-based bias in the provisions of healthcare services during the colonial period. As we have seen in the preceding paragraph, modern health care services were made available to the small military population, but they were denied to the majority population in the country. The exclusion of the rural population from the purview of modern medicine is also evident from the fact that all the healthcare services were concentrated in the cantonments and district headquarters. Though the healthcare services provided by the colonial government were essentially aimed at controlling epidemics, they did have some positive impact on the health status of the people. Among them, the notable ones are the success in containing the incidence of plague and in the field of malaria control. Yet another contribution of the colonial rule of the healthcare services was the transfer of the subject of public health care services was the transfer of the subject to public health to responsible ministers under the government of India in 1990. The initiative provided some basis for the formulation of healthcare policies and programs in the independent India. Healthcare services in independent India, a retrospective. In this session, we shall discuss some of the landmarks in the evolution of healthcare services till the end of 1980. When India became independent in 1947, health status of the people was one of the poorest in the world. Expectancy of the life at birth was 26.9 for males and 26.5 for females. 50% of death deaths were among children under the age 10, and in this group half of the mortality was during the first year of life. Malaria, tuberculosis, smallpox, cholera, and other communicable diseases accounted for the majority of deaths in India. The availability of medical services were highly inadequate. Health services in the rural areas were almost non-existent. However, the healthcare system, which was dominant during the colonial regime, began to evolve at the dawn of India's independence. It underwent considerable changes both quantitatively and qualitatively. These changes were brought about largely as a result of experience during the implementation of healthcare programs and the recommendation of several committees appointed different periods of the time. A lot of subcommittees like the subcommittee on national health, the subcommittee of national health as uh, following recommendations like curative and preventive healthcare services have to be integrated in a single state agency. And second, it was also stressed that the maintenance of the health of the people was the responsibility of the state. The subcommittee highlighted the importance of training large number of health workers in practical community and personal hygiene, first aid, and simple medical treatment. And third recommendation is it was suggested that the aim of providing the health worker for every thousand population need to be realized within 5 years. And the next is the ultimate objective should be to have one fully qualified medical man or woman for each 1000 persons and one hospital bed for every 600 persons. The subcommittee also said that practitioners of the Ayurveda and Unani systems were to be drawn into the state health system. It also endorsed the findings and recommendations of the Bhure committee, which had by them submitted its report. And the Bhure committee was set up in 1943 under the chairmanship of the Sir Joseph Bhure. He also uh, had made some recommendation like a living wage for all the workers, improvement in agriculture and industrial production, elimination of employment, sustainable housing and clean environment are essential for healthy living. The basic unit of planning and administration of healthcare services is the district. In the long-term plan, the smallest health unit was designed as primary health unit with a population coverage of 10 to 30,000. Each PHU will have 75 beds. And after the initial committee recommendation, initial period, the recommendation of the Bure committee become the blueprint of the delivery system of health services in independent India. This is evident from the fact that the interim government, which was found period to independence in June 1946, accepted the recommendation of the Bure Committee. The Constitution of Independent India also accepted health services to be the entire population as one of the directive principles of the state policy in the Constitution. Healthcare services in rural India started with the establishment of the first primary health center in October 1952. These were established as part of the community development program based on the objective of the bringing about multifaceted development of rural areas in the fields of agriculture, rural industry, education, social organization, communication, transport, etc. These were to be achieved through extension education, community self-help and government action. Nutrition, sanitation and water supply were also included within the purview of the community development program. The delivery of health services through community development program organization was based on the understanding of intersectoral approaches for healthcare and on the concept of community participation. The major functions of the primary health center under the integrated curative, preventive, promotive approaches of health services development were is medical care, control of communicable disease, promotion of maternal and child health, collection of the vital statistics, protection of water supply, and environmental sanitation. Conducting school health program. Later provision of the family planning services was also added to the list. The PHC in each block was conceived as a nucleus for all health activities in area. Healthcare services in 60s. I think we should take 10 minutes of the break, and after 10 minutes we will meet again. Okay,
Okay, sir.
can you follow? Yeah, after 10 minutes we will meet again. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Huh. Welcome back. Kenny Mobla, are you listening?
Yes, doctor, I'm listening.
Okay, let's start again. Welcome back. So,
Thanks.
I was talking about healthcare services in India. Healthcare services in the 60s, the report of the Health Survey and Planning Committee, the Mudaliar Committee, provide the glimpse of the healthcare services in the 60s. So let's see some recommendation of this report. This committee addressed the performance and operation of primary health center scheme and submitted its report in 1961. The report observed that the okay, thank you. So that no okay, sorry for interruption. Healthcare services in the 70s. In the 70s, the committee formed the Committee on Multi-Purpose Workers. In 1970, the Committee on Multi-Purpose Workers, Kartar Singh Committee, reviewed the function of PHC and noted that there is a lack of coordination among the various health workers. The committee felt that the smallest unit of population could be better served by coordinating the diverse programs and pooling the personnel. Some of the recommendations of this committee were one male health worker multi-purpose for a population of 6 to 7,000 initially. One female health worker ANM for a population of 10 to 12,000 integrate training for all workers. In 1977, the new government at the center evolved a new program called Community Health Worker Scheme. This was another major landmark in the health services development in India. The objective was to provide health services to the rural population uh, through village level community workers. 777 blocks out of around 5,400 administrative blocks were chosen for the first phase of the scheme. The CSW was chosen by and from the community and provided with the necessary know-how and materials for handling minor alignments and for providing health education to the community. The training of CSWs was at the PHC itself by the PHC staff for a period of 3 months. The trainers were given a stipend of rupees 200 per month, a simple medicine kit, and a annual manual with simple diagrams. After the training, they were given an annual allowance of the rupees 600 and rupees 600 worth of medicine per annum. Emergence of the primary health care. Emergence of primary health care (PHC), the need to evolve an integrated approach to healthcare gained momentum both at the national and international level with the emergence of primary healthcare. However, prior to the evolution of primary healthcare plan, documents reflected the needs for such an approach. For instance, a package called the Minimum Needs Program was evolved in the fifth plan, which contained rural health. Where it is. Uh, However, prior to evolution of primary healthcare and plan documents reflected the need for such an approach. For instance, a package called the Minimum Needs Program (MNP) was evolved in the fifth plan 1975 to 79, which continued rural health, nutrition, environmental improvement of urban slums, water supply, rural housing, rural roads, electrification, elementary and adult education, etc. One should see efforts towards an integrated approach to provide basic needs to the rural areas, such as effort received worldwide attention in the 1978 and the Alma-Ata Conference, which called in for health for all by 2000. National health policy, all these efforts finally led to the National Health Policy of 1982. The policy underlined the need to provide universal, comprehensive primary health care services relevant to the actual needs and priorities of the community at a cost which people can afford. It called for restricting the health services around the following broad approaches. Provision of primary health care with the organized support of volunteer auxiliaries, paramedicals, and adequately trained multi-purpose worker. Large-scale transfer of knowledge, simple skills, and techniques to health volunteers selected by the committee and enjoying their confidence. Efforts to build up individual self reliance and community participation. A bellward out referral system to provide support to primary health care. A network of centricum epidemiological strategies to tackle the range of health problems. Support to voluntary agencies in the health. establishment of centers to provide specialist treatment when necessary, special efforts in mental health and rehabilitation of the disabled, priority to people living in tribal hill and backward areas, also disease prone areas. The policy can be considered as a response to the predominant thinking at the point of time, especially the nature of primary health care and health for all by 2000 AD. It also contained an analysis of the poor state of health status and health services. It stated that the adaptation of health, manpower, development policies, and emphasis on the curative care based on the Western model were contrary to the real needs of the people and the socioeconomic conditions. It admitted that such an approach had been at the cost of comprehensive primary health care. Now, we will talk about primary health centers in rural health care of primary health center and sub-center has been one of the significant achievements in the field of healthcare delivery in rural India. In this uh, section or topic, we will briefly discuss the structure, function, and sources of the program of the PHC. Structure and function, the chief medical officer in the district is